Welcome back to another canon review. Today I'm looking at Thor Ragnarok. It is finally here. Let's get right into it. So I'm going to start off with the non-spoilers. We'll do the spoilers in the back. So Thursday night, of course, Nerd Night. One thing I will say that was interesting is that when I saw it in IMAX, but the IMAX theater wasn't completely sold out. For the most part, it was about 90%, but most of the front row wasn't sold out. So that was a little interesting. I will say at Spider-Man Homecoming and at Guardians of the Galaxy 2, they both were completely booked, like every seat. And I can't say that was the case this time with Thor, but that was a little interesting. But anyway, oh my God, this movie is good. This movie is hilarious. The things you've heard, the things you saw in the trailer, true. Very funny. So some of my negatives is what I used to start with, but I can't really think of any big negatives I have. The only negatives I have, I feel like, are nitpicks, but they're more spoilery, so I'll say those for later. Because overall, there's not much to go against in this movie. If you understand what you're getting into, you understand that it is a comedy, then I think you'll be perfectly happy with what you get. Some of my positives, of course, as a comedy, it works. But the story is pretty tight, and I was really surprised that you had a director who had his own sense of comedy doing a superhero movie that, you have to hit certain beats. So I was wondering how that was going to work, and it worked well. For me, Deadpool didn't work well because the story was so lacking and all over the place because they were so worried about doing jokes that I felt like Thor does not have that problem because it's not rated R. It's not, poop jokes, fart jokes, dick jokes, all that stuff. It's like actual comedy, like conversational. It's funny. And so because of that, there's a lot of hard cuts. They don't waste time with filler. Like, they go to the next thing. It's moving and it's moving. But it really hits everything that you need, and it gives you so many jokes within that. This is smart comedy. This is that good comedy, I think, that might last a while because it's not just, okay, jokes. And then when you go back and watch it, you're like, oh man, I already know the jokes. It really is, the comedy comes from the performances and the actions during dialogue. So it was really well made to me. Really well made. The one thing I can say that's a negative that I think about it, it's not spoiler. CGI was off for me. It was off for me. A lot of the CGI was off. But other than that, I was into this movie. I would definitely recommend you go out and see it soon. I'd go with friends. It's one where the whole theater laughs together. Like, the jokes are just so good. And if you're one of those people that have really been following the MCU, you've been watching all the movies, you know what's up, this is going to be even more funnier to you. Because I feel like people that haven't seen the other Thors or the other Avengers, there's certain jokes they won't get, but they'll still have a good time. But if you've been watching all the Marvel movies, you're going to die laughing. So, yes, I mean, there's not much more I can say. That's the thing about this movie, is that it really is a comedy. Like, they're not trying to do much more than that. They're trying to have a good time, and they do it. It has an 80s feel. It has a lot of colors. And it's just funny. I don't even know what to say. It's not like any Marvel movie. It's definitely not like the Thor movies. You went from point A all the way to point Z. And the other Marvel movies are pretty safe. And this is safe, but the comedy is a little adult. Some of the stuff, I'm like, man, it's kids in here. So it's pretty funny, though. It's not dirty. It's just kind of an adult humor. Anyway, so as far as a rating, I'm giving it a 92%, 92 out of 100. Definitely an A movie. The only reason it's not higher for me is because, like I said, it is a comedy. It's one note, as in, this is what we're doing. The story, the drama, all that's not there. And for me, a highly rated movie has to be well-rounded. This movie was purely a comedy, but as a comedy, it's amazing. So definitely not a bad thing. I give it a 92. So you've been warned. That's my rating. We're going into spoiler territory. So stop watching. Okay, now I'm about to keep going. So if you're still watching, you've seen the movie. So some of my negatives with this movie, I don't like the way they changed Hela's story. The thing I'm realizing with these superhero movies is that when you do it as one movie, and when you do it, these big stories as one movie, and you do these big stories in a different way, you really lose the epicness of those stories because they're picking the most popular storylines from the comic books, and they're popular for a reason. They're epic. And so I think about how Civil War completely watered down that storyline. I think about how BVS started good, but it would have been better if Superman was evil. I think about how I really like Days of Future Past. That one I'll knock. But, they take these storylines and they water it down. So Ragnarok, it's all this stuff. And the way they do it in this movie, where now Hela's Thor's sister, and Scourge doesn't want to. He's like a loser that becomes a bad guy and then becomes a good guy, then dies, and all that. It's just, and then Serta is still the demon that destroys Asgard, but it's completely consequential at that point. So I didn't really like that much about the movie like that. For me, Hela and like that whole thing was just, it wasn't bad because Cate Blanchett's performance is great, but it was so underutilized. It's like, and then you got the story of the refugees trying to get away from her. You got this whole background of Hela and Odin like building Asgard based off conquering people. You had storylines that could be their own movie. Things that I was really interested in. And like, this whole underground rebellion that we see a lot, but I was interested like with him leading it, Idris Elba's character, and I'm just like, there's stuff in here that could be his own story, and we all just glance over it for one movie, so that kind of sucks. But that's a problem I think superhero movies are having in general. Like I said, the CGI was just like the Hela fight. Should have been better. The Hela fight should have been better. It looked kind of cool, but the CGI was just bad. The opening fight with Thor was cool, but again, the CGI didn't work. It's just, and even some with the Hulk, like him in wide shots next to people didn't feel right. Like Hulk's supposed to be kind of like larger than life. I don't know, but the Thor Hulk fight was pretty good. But overall, CGI was shaky to me, very shaky. So those are pretty much like some of my nitpick negatives. And then the one thing overall I would say is that, and I was worried about this, that when you go from Thor to the Dark World, and you go to this, it's not in the same category. And they said, this is different, but this is jarring for me. Like the whole movie, I was jarred. I still enjoyed it, but when you watch these actors play these characters and you remember the things they've done, you've seen scenes, you saw the tone, you saw the way they were, and then it just drastically changes. Like everybody, Ruffalo, like the Hulk himself, like everybody's just goofy. It kind of felt like a Saturday Night Live skit sometimes. And that jarred me a little bit, but not enough to mess up the movie. I still love the movie. It's just, it was a little jarring to see them go from point A to point Z. And so I wonder how this will hold up. I think this is the way Thor should have been in the first place rather than whatever they did. This is like, it should have been in this comedic vein, especially with Chris Hemsworth, because he's great, he's funny, and I'm glad they finally used his talent. So, yes. So some of my favorite scenes, I'll do that, and then I'll wrap it up. Man, my favorite scene that I was thinking about in the car and just die laughing. When they were fighting, when Thor and Hulk were fighting, and they used the sun's getting real low, I died. I'm still dying. It's so funny because that's actually one of the most powerful scenes to me in the Marvel universe. Even when they show Hulk seeing Scarlet or Black Widow, I like that. To me, for whatever reason, I don't think anybody else agrees, that relationship is the best one to me. That's the one I believe. That's the one that is just so poetic. And when they did the whole lullaby where she's able to turn them back, that's my favorite scene of just everything. And so seeing them turn it on his head, It was pretty funny, especially with Chris Hemsworth, because he's like smiling when and then he kept doing it for like the next 30 minutes. Sun's getting real low. Big guy like, oh my god, they're killing my scene, but it's so funny. Oh my god, I can't get over that. There's so many scenes I can't even think of them right now. But of course, Mark Ruffalo and Chris Hemsworth's banter. Oh my god, they are funny together. They are hilarious together. What was Mark Ruffalo's like? I don't know how to fly this thing. And Thor's like, you're a scientist. You just want your PhDs. It was funny. And then he was like, Bruce was like, Bruce is mighty. He was like, is he? Like, Chris Hemsworth was unleashed in this movie. Oh man, I'm blanking now. Those were some of my favorite scenes, though, but there's so many funny ones. Taika Waititi, if you didn't know, the director, played Korg, the rock creature. Hilarious. Number one example of how to do funny. Like, it doesn't have to be outlandish. Doesn't have to be gross. It just, the timing is great. And he's just, hey dudes. Hey, we're going to get on this ship and do a rebellion. You want to go? He was just hilarious. So, oh my God, so many funny moments. I'm sure I'll think of some more later. But, yeah, so like I said, an A movie, 92, did not set up a lot going for it, which I was surprised about. Like, they mentioned Infinity Stones and all that. We have an end scene where it certainly looks like Thanos is coming. But we don't get much setup for Infinity War at all. This was its own little movie, which really had no purpose. To be honest with you, it didn't have a real purpose. Oh, that was some of the other things I didn't like. I didn't like how they forced Thor to be the new Odin. Like, I don't like that he doesn't have a hammer, and he's Raiden now. Like, yes, he's the god of thunder, but not like that. I don't necessarily like that. They took some liberties with, like I said, Scourge and Hela and all this stuff. I'm not really feeling that, but it didn't stop me from enjoying the movie. And like I said, it didn't really serve much purpose because I don't think Asgard can dwell on Earth. And if it does, that's going to be weird. Like, that's a weird way to make Thor stay on Earth. Like, you can't just move this great kingdom to Earth. And so, I don't know. It didn't have much purpose to this movie, to be honest, but it was still, like, really funny. Oh, Doctor Strange scene. That was funny. He kept transporting Thor. Like, Doctor Strange is perfectly fine. Thor's, like, hitting everything. It was so funny. That was hilarious. So, yeah, that's my review. Go to the comment section. Let me know what you thought. Thumbs up, subscribe if you heard it here. It's official canon.